we are ready for basketball. Pete Nance, P.J. Hall, and we are underway. The Tigers with the basketball first. A Clemson team coming in with an 18-6 overall record, 10-3 in league play. And Corey, they are back to full strength and a full roster.
And Brad Brownell told us this week is the first time they've had an opportunity for everyone to practice since early in the preseason. And happy to have a full complement. Played 11 players last weekend against Miami.
Backcourt of Caleb Love, R.J. Davis. There is Armando Bacot, who called out his teammates following their loss on Tuesday at Wake Forest, and all eyes are on this Carolina team to see how they will respond.
Absolutely, and this is the time North Carolina really has to take off if they are going to have a chance. As Caleb Love is fouled on the jumper by Brevin Galloway. If North Carolina is going to have a chance to repeat the similar success that they had a year ago, this is the time now where they have to start making a move back toward the top of the ACC.
Well, the connective tissue of this Tar Heels team is what you wonder about. As Caleb Love makes the front end. The junior from St. Louis out of Christian Brothers College High School averages 16.5 points per game. That is 6th best in the ACC. And he's got the first two of the afternoon from the stripe. And for those of you on ESPN2, welcome to the Dean E. Smith Center in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. We are just underway with Corey Alexander and Angel Gray. I'm Doug Sherman. The Tar Heels scored the first 2 points with a pair of Caleb Love free throws, and we just had P.J. Hall answer with a layup for the Tigers as R.J. Davis misfires from the top of the key. This is, Corey, what Joey Brackett says is the most impactful game of the day in the entire country.
And the reason being is because you've got two teams in Clemson at the top of the ACC, but yet still hovering right above the bubble. And for North Carolina, a loss would take them out of Joey Brackett's field.
Very tuned-in crowd here in Chapel Hill. They are pumped, and they understood what that defensive stand there meant as an indication about this team right now. At the other end, extra pass by Leaky Black. Nance misfires. Fight for the rebound comes to Shefflin. But
if you're North Carolina, you like that possession because you play inside out. Allow Armando Bacot to put his hands on the basketball and make a play for his teammates.
Hall banks it in for three and kind of shrugs his shoulders in the Michael Jordan way.
Well, I'm not sure if this is the place where that's going to be appreciated.
He's got all 5 Clemson points. Hall, the 6'10 junior from Spartanburg, South Carolina. In they go to Bacot. The immediate double team with Chase Hunter coming down. Good defense by the Tigers, forcing the turnover. Davis was on the sideline. And there is Hubert Davis in year number 2 at his alma mater. Of course, the preseason pick in the ACC and in the entire country. But at this point, having lost 3 in a row. And Corey, some of the numbers during that 3-game losing streak to me illustrate some of their issues on offense. 77 made field goals, only 27 assists. That's about 35%. And as a way to compare, last year when they won 5 in a row in the NCAA tournament, they were assisting on over 50% of their made field goals.
And I would absolutely agree that that is a portion of it, but I think more of it has to do with the fact that they're not defending at the same level that they have in the past, and that is the biggest issue for the Heels.
Hunter Tyson with the steal out to Chase Hunter. Defensively, the Heels get back. Hall decides not to bank that one in, and that glances immediately to somebody in the front row.
Well, P.J. Hall was set on shooting that one in the first place simply to show that him making the one off the glass is no fluke. He is a three-point shooter. He's made one in his last 4 games.
36% on the year. Love is fouled by Shefflin, trying to cut him off at the pass.
In a more conventional manner, P.J. Hall stepping back off the pick-and-pop action, knocking down the 3-ball, and then just a quick glance over to the crowd to let them know, this is no fluke. I'm here for real.
P.J. Hall in the midst of a good year for this Clemson team that came into the day in a three-way tie for first place. Pittsburgh has already won today at Florida State, so the Tigers try to keep pace. Caleb Love steps in and draws the charge. Another big defensive play early for UNC. One of the senior members of the coaching fraternity in the Atlantic Coast Conference, Brad Brownell, hard to believe already in his 13th year with the Tigers.
And Brad Brownell was prepared. He knew that this building was going to be electric today. He knows that the North Carolina faithful are going to try their best to get their team moving back in the winning direction. And he has talked to his team a lot about that over this past week.
Now, back in January of 2020, he led this team into this building and won for the first time in 59 attempts in Chapel Hill. And he did tell us before the game today that that effort came up this week. Tar Heels draw within 4.
But that was a concern for Brad Brownell, finishing defensive possessions on the offensive glass. We know Armando Bacot's one of the best offensive rebounders in college basketball. That time he gets one, as well as Leaky Black for the putback.
It's an 8-2 Clemson run. Hall's been a big part of that. Misses on the turnaround, and here comes R.J. Davis, the junior from White Plains, New York. In they go, Bacot. Draws a crowd, goes to the reverse, and lays it in.
Early in this game, you can see the concerted effort by the Tar Heels to get the basketball into the hands of Armando Bacot, allow him to make plays for himself and his teammates playing inside out.
While on the entry pass, goes against Davis. Bacot with that bucket, now into 19th place on the all-time scoring list in the history of UNC hoops.
We have a great one on our hands at this point, but Clemson Tigers have the 2-point edge. Hello, I'm Angel Gray. The Tar Heels were picked as the preseason favorites, but right now they're battling their way out of the middle of the pack. Armando Bacot and his fellow veterans were visibly upset after Wake Forest's loss, so he took some time to discuss how they reset and why he chose to come back.
I want to win. That's why I came back. I want to win, and coaches didn't want to win. Like I told me, Caleb, RJ, and Leaky, like we came back for a reason, and this isn't it. But the thing about it is now is our back is against the wall. So, like I told everybody, like people that want to play beat here on Thursday, let's go.
Strong words from one of the all-time great North Carolina Tar Heels, and from what we can glean, it seems to have found the mark. His message has gotten through to this point.
I believe it's gotten through to this point, but one of the things about Armando Bacot, he loves the University of North Carolina. So when you consider the fact that he came back, he won a state championship as a sophomore at Trinity Episcopal School. He won a Peach Jam title before his senior year with Team Takeover. He won a national title in high school at IMG. Last year, getting a taste of winning a national championship in college basketball. That's why he's back here. He loves this university, and he's here to win a national championship. And right now, his team is on the bubble of not even getting a chance to be in the dance. So they have to make changes ASAP.
Coming into the day, Carolina, as the shot clock goes off, it's another forced turnover by the Heels. Carolina was the last team in to the field of 68, so every game matters for Armando Bacot and the Heels. And again, he put on a marvelous performance, especially in the NCAA tournament run last year, and it really means a lot to him to try and get back to not just the big dance, but the Final Four and try to win it all. That's why they ran it back this year. Now, there are parallels between last year that they were muddling along in January and February last year and then turned it around. But is a parallel this year fair under these circumstances, Corey?
I don't believe it's fair because it's a different team, but the fact that you have those 4 core guys back in R.J. Davis, Caleb Love, Armando, and Leaky Black, that's where the parallels are drawn, because you expect for those guys in another year to be even better than they were a year before. Pete Nance, of course, has been inconsistent at times, and he's not been Brady Manick, and you can't ask him to be Brady Manick, who was so important for that team a year ago.
And chemistry continues to be a question. First Clemson player other than P.J. Hall to score, 10-6 Tigers.
And Brad Brownell extremely happy to have Chase Hunter back in the lineup, missed 3 games with the injury to his foot, but playing very good basketball, back in the lineup now as the leader at the point guard position.
Happy to have Reverend Galloway back. Happy to have Alex Hemingway back. From the corner, Leaky Black for three. Give the assist to DeMarco Dunn coming off the bench. Black with 5 points early for the Heat.
And that's Leaky Black's spot. You find him in the corner, normally he is going to take care of business. He loves to shoot the corner three.
Hunter Tyson feeds the post. Tyson comes in as on pace for first-team All-ACC, maybe Player of the Year, but he has yet to score.
And Hunter Tyson, who leads the ACC in defensive rebound, comes up with a big offensive rebound, allowing Chase Hunter to get to the basket. And I believe that's going to be the first on Bacot.
First foul on DeMarco Dunn. And it will send Chase Hunter to the free throw line. Redshirt junior from Atlanta. His older brother Jaden played linebacker for 2 years at Georgia. Just wrapped up his 4th season at Western Kentucky with a win over South Alabama a couple of months ago in the New Orleans Bowl. You asked Coach Brownell before the game today, how are you going to manage the fact that, hey, now you've got a full roster. Can you play 10, 11 players, keep them all happy, and be effective as well as you can be?
And, of course, Coach Brownell told us a lot of it has to do with the flow of the game. You know, depending upon how the game goes, they played 11 players against Miami a week ago. I don't expect to see his rotation go as many as 11. I think 10 will get in the game. But it's difficult to play 11 players at this stage of the year. I mean, of course, unless you're Leonard Hamilton in Florida State, who's been doing it forever. But outside of that, it's difficult to do that and for everyone to be able to come out and be productive.
There you see Dylan Hunter into the game, Alex Hemingway as well. Coach said Hemingway is the only Tiger still restricted in terms of minutes, where the training staff and the coaching staff will keep an eye on him. But he's a floor spacer who Clemson desperately needs. Puff Johnson into the game for Carolina, feeds Jalen Washington, the promising freshman.
Yeah, that's it. You see why he's so promising. Hubert Davis a year ago, before Jalen Washington ever stepped foot on campus here at the University of North Carolina, said he was the best shooting big man in the class a season ago. Unfortunate for North Carolina that he chose to come to Chapel Hill.
And Hunter Tyson, now a member of the 1,000-point club in his 5th season for the Tigers.
And these are the type of games that Hunter Tyson really gears up for. You can see he has that level of energy, stepping up, taking on the challenge of guarding Leaky Black. But he has been focused and locked in ever since early in warm-ups, just paying attention to his body language.
He is the 43rd member all-time of the 1,000-point club for Clemson. Shot clock down to 5. Tough shot of the turnaround by Dunn. Offensive rebound for Black. Here goes Love. Tough shot. And he was fouled. Dylan Hunter on the show. Media timeout. Clemson up 4 here in Chapel Hill.
On any weekend?
Welcome back. That was your Wendy's Wooden Watch with Armando Bacot. And we get a double dose of the family because I'm here with his mom right now with Christy Lomax. Christy, the last time we saw you, you were rehabbing with your son. You were doing your knee. He was doing his ankle. We talked about how you knew right away that he had that dog in him. Now we want to talk about his leadership. Very early on, what did you see in that aspect?
He's always been his own person. He's always been very confident in himself and what he likes to do. So, I mean, leadership came really easy for him. It was really something that has just been in him since he was born.
And we saw that as well after the last game. Yeah. He said, we have to be better and challenge his team. As far as his love for this university, his decision to even come back and play, what was the discussion with him in order for that to happen?
So, I mean, going to the Final Four was a huge accomplishment, a dream of his. And then going to the championship was just, you know, the icing on the cake. So not winning for him was something and a goal that he wants and something he wants to achieve. So that took a big part in his decision-making to come back and go for a national championship.
You know, we cannot let you leave because you're one of the best storytellers of all time. As far as something that we could share on the broadcast about how special he is in every aspect of the game, probably not just on the court, but off the court as well, what would that be?
He's always, like I said, been the person that is an actions person. Talk less, do more. So, you know, whether it was with our family as a whole, our goals that we set, where he's like, look, this is what we need to do. I'm on board. Either you guys roll or don't. So it's not surprising that he takes that type of attitude, and it's always in love. It's always in motivation and encouragement, because you got to do what you got to do. So that's something that's just, again, been in him forever.
Christy, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Guys, you got to do what you got to do. I think we can learn from that as well.
No doubt, sage advice. And her son's team has pulled back to within a point. And Corey, Armando Bacot has put together one of the all-time great careers in UNC's storied history. The all-time rebounding king, top 20 in scoring. Led the team to the national title game last year, and still there is plenty of time this year to make some sort of noise going towards March.
It absolutely is, and when you consider what the legacy he will lead, as we see Jalen Washington with the finish, DeMarco Dunn making a nice play, looking out for his teammate, and of course Armando Bacot cheering on his guys. It's simply about winning. More important than having his jersey in the rafters, more important than being ACC Player of the Year, he preferred to win.
Hemingway banks one home. That's the second Clemson jump shot off window and in today. But with that, you know, he came so close to having his jersey forever hanging in the rafters in 4 different ways last year. Caleb Love confidently turns after draining the 3 and walks back to midcourt. He's got 6, and the Heels up 2.
And you've got to love the response from Love early in this game. Caleb Love, of course, part of all the noise that's been happening off the floor for the Tar Heels. And you like the way Caleb has come out and approached this game to start it off, getting to the free throw line, but also sharing the basketball and knocking down the 3.
And he was so good last year's NCAA tournament as well, averaging nearly 19 points on the run to the title game. Off the air ball, here comes Clemson. Hemingway wide open, well short. Hemingway makes about 50% of his threes. He won't have many more open than that one. Love for 3. Back to back for number 2 in white.
Dougie Fresh, we have seen this movie before, and the fans here in Chapel Hill, dare I say, they love it. Caleb, not once, but twice, back-to-back threes as the Heels take a 5-point lead.
ESPN number 8 Virginia hosts Kyle Filipowski and Duke. The other big game in the ACC as Virginia tries to keep pace with both Clemson and a Pittsburgh team that's knocked off Florida State earlier this afternoon. Along with Corey Alexander and Angel Gray, I'm Doug Sherman. This building is jumping, and that man is in the middle of it. You remember, he put 30 on UCLA last March. He put 28 on Duke in the national semifinal, including 22 in the second half, game-winning 3. When he gets cooking, he's as good as most anybody.
Absolutely, and that's one thing that Brad Brownell talked to us about in the pregame was, hey, we cannot allow Caleb Love to see easy looks early and get going and start building that confidence, because if he does, he will burn you. And you look at Caleb Love's three-point shooting month by month. February up to 37%. He's shooting better, and today 2 or 3 already from beyond the arc.
On the year, only 29%. What do you make of that, Corey, as P.J. Hall is now into double figures with that bucket?
Well, I can tell you that when you watch Caleb Love play, oftentimes you see him taking difficult shots, and that's part of the reason why his percentage has been down. But, you know, he's a career 36% field goal shooter, so he doesn't shoot a great percentage from the field, but he's always taking tough shots. When he keeps the game simple, he is very difficult to defend.
3-guard offense on the court for North Carolina with the freshman Seth Trimble out there. 5 on the shot clock. Davis turns the corner, got to the basket, and he was fouled.
And one thing that makes North Carolina a better offensive team also, Doug, is when Caleb Love and R.J. Davis are attacking the basket, when they're not solely relying on their jump shots, and attack the basket. Of course, they can have their opportunities, but they also can make plays for their teammates and put so much more pressure on the defense.
Personal foul on P.J. Hall sends the ACC's best free throw shooter to the line. And this was pregame. Davis and Love, who have done their best on social media a couple of days ago to quash any of the rumors that are going on around there that there's any sort of disharmony between the two. And now Love draws a big ovation as he heads to the bench. He's been replaced by Dontrez Styles, sophomore from Kinston, North Carolina.
And one of the things that we've watched Hubert Davis do as this season's gone along, he has extended his rotation, playing more guys off the bench than they did earlier in the year. Many more guys getting opportunities for North Carolina, and the reason for that is to be able to apply defensive pressure on the opponents.
Brevin Galloway back into the game for Clemson. He's got the basketball, the fifth-year senior from Anderson, South Carolina. This is a homecoming going back to Clemson. 7 to shoot. Tyson picks up his dribble. Right there with him, of course, Leaky Black with a block shot. Here comes Leaky going end-to-end, and he is denied. Up to the rim to say no way. Now the block shot is Chase Hunter. Leaky's like, I'm usually the one doing that.
Absolutely. Leaky is one of the ACC's best defenders. However, Chase Hunter going all Corso. Not so fast, my friend.
Kansas on the road to Oklahoma. They were down 7-0, and since then it's been all Jayhawk.
Yeah, look, it's gotten close-ish at times, but 24 points off turnovers, 44 in the paint, 17 in transition. Also good to get DeJuan Harris scoring.
That was a lot in a very short period of time. Back to you guys.
Thanks so much, and here's a look at the latest bracketology from Joe Lunardi. And the reigning champs from Kansas looking to get back up to the 1 line. Certainly going to get that win today against the Sooners, or at least it looks like right now. And I found it interesting. I heard Joey Brackets last night, Corey, talking about Virginia, which is right now a number 3 seed on his bracketology. It's the top seeded ACC team. And he was asked, what if Virginia wins out? Could the Cavaliers move up? And he said no. He said this is probably their ceiling this year.
Well, and the reason for that is because Virginia plays in one of the best conferences in the country. When you think about the fact that the ACC has so much competition from top to bottom. And when you think about this league, you've got 12 teams who are competing. 9 of those teams in the NCAA net top 70. So you look at what has happened in the ACC this season. Go back and think about North Carolina, preseason number 1, even everything that happened for them in the non-conference. They still have multiple wins over Big Ten teams. So you think about everything that's gone on from top to bottom in this league. Virginia right now is one of the 3 teams at the top of what I still consider to be the best league in the country.
P.J. Hall having himself a big afternoon for the Tigers. Let's go back to Angel.
Guys, we were just talking about the depth of this league. Well, how about 7 players in this league that are on the Oscar Robertson Award midseason watch list? I'll take it even further. There are 3 players on this floor right now that are on that list with Hunter Tyson from Clemson. You also have Armando Bacot and Caleb Love for UNC. So when you're looking at what makes Oscar Robertson the big O, him, it's because he was able to do so many things so well. So when you're looking at those 3 players, what player stands out to you about how balanced they can be?
I will go with the guy that just got the second offensive rebound and the bucket on that possession, Angel, and that would be one Armando Bacot, who still, even though North Carolina has not been great this season, is still my favorite right now for ACC Player of the Year. When North Carolina has not had success, oftentimes it's been because Bacot either hasn't been in the game or he has not gotten his opportunities with the basketball in his hands. You look at an all-time career ranking first in rebounds, in double-digit rebound games, as well as double-doubles in North Carolina history.
And, of course, Mondo did miss a game early in the year against Virginia Tech because of a shoulder injury. And as we were talking about with Hubert Davis before the game today, I mean, at this point of the year, everybody's got a rolled ankle, a jammed finger. Nobody's 100%.
Armando missed the game against Virginia Tech, but he also rolled his ankle 1 minute into the game at Virginia. So that's pretty much another missed game. But the only thing that hurt more than his ankle was his averages. And so part of the reason why he was the ACC's leading scorer going into that game.
Crowd wanted a traveling violation called against Middlebrooks. There's Bacot fighting for the rebound. He's got another one. the way, that foul a moment ago was on P.J. Hall for Clemson. He's gone out of the ball game to protect him with those two, having Middlebrooks back on the floor with Godfrey and Tyson up front. Under 6 minutes to go in the half. Work the ball around from Davis to
That wasn't just a good offensive possession. That was a great offensive possession from North Carolina. Once again, getting the basketball in the hands of Bacot, accepting the double team. As Chase Hunter comes back and fires, knocking down a three. No one matching up, picking up the basketball.
Well, that's the first big defensive lapse today that I can think of for the Tar Heels, Corey.
I would agree. They've been locked in defensively, and I know that's something that Hubert Davis has talked to his team a lot about. Is Brad Brownell actually switches it up. You talked about P.J. Hall on the bench, goes to a zone defensively. And when you play zone against North Carolina, you've got to count for where number 5 is whenever a shot goes up.
R.J. Davis says, don't forget about me. That's his first made bucket of the afternoon. And the Tar Heels have their largest lead of the game. Chase Hunter has it taken away. Here comes Love with Davis up ahead. Davis attacks. Can't get the roll, and there is Bacot. And a whistle and a foul.
A great offensive possession. Armando Bacot accepts the double team. Pete Nance finds R.J. Davis in the corner, who makes the extra pass to Caleb Love. And this time it's R.J. off the screen, stepping up, knocking down the three of his own. In the backcourt for North Carolina, playing great basketball here thus far in the first 15 minutes of this first half.
Corey, that was foul number 2 on R.J. Godfrey, so another one of the Clemson bigs with a little bit of foul trouble here late in the first half. Bacot makes the first. Well, here's our next ACC Big 12 Big Monday doubleheader. 7 Eastern, Isaiah Wong leads number 19 Miami against Mr. Bacot and these Tar Heels at the Smith Center, right where we are. And then Marcus Carr, number 5 Texas, are in Lubbock to take on Texas Tech. Both games are over on ESPN and the app.
Not sure anyone is playing better basketball in the ACC right now than Jim Larinaga's Miami Hurricanes. They have been look like world beaters as of late.
And we always talk about Isaiah Wong, but Jordan Miller, averaging 15 per game, has just brought a different element for this Canes team that a year ago made it all the way to the Elite Eight. They might be better this year.
And I would agree with everything you're saying. However, I think it's more Norshad Omier who's brought the different element. So, and that's the best thing about Miami is you can pick a number of different guys. We haven't even mentioned Nigel Pack, who's a knockdown shooter. So that's the thing about Miami. They're versatile and they're explosive.
Tough Johnson, I'd say Omier is very much in the conversation for potentially first-team all-conference.
Agree. And again, but Jordan Miller is putting up numbers that very few guys, the last 2 players that have won the ACC Player of the Year award are doing what Jordan Miller is doing right now. So you've got to look at him as all-ACC performer. Isaiah Wong was a preseason all-ACC performer. I mean, again, with Jim Larinaga, the versatility that they have, especially on the offensive end of the floor right now, is great to see in Coral Gables.
Yeah, they are fun to watch. Here goes Galloway, right to the bucket. Nicely done for number 11.
And that's not necessarily Brevin Galloway's game. He's more of a guy who lines it up from beyond the three-point arc and does his damage. So you see him maturing as a basketball player, one of 9 Division I basketball players, 25 years old or older.
R.J. Davis off the bounce. He's got 6. Yeah, for Brevin Galloway, this is 3rd stop. 5 years at the College of Charleston. Then last year with Boston College, this is now his 7th year as a college student. Another wide open 3 ball, this time by Shefflin. His first points of the day. It's back to a 6-point game.
And give Clemson a lot of credit. Even though North Carolina's had the momentum on their side, the Tigers have not run away to hide.
Davis into the paint, finds a wide open Nance. Bacot cleans it up. Just like we have seen time and again over the last 4 years here in Chapel Hill.
And the problem there for P.J. Hall, playing with those 2 fouls, he can only be so physical with Bacot, especially under the glass.
There's the 8.7 boards for Bacot. Those 2 got right back by Chase Hunter.
Man, I tell you, it is a pleasure to watch Chase Hunter play. He's so under control. This is a guy who really, this is the first time he's played the point guard position in college basketball and has taken over extremely well for Brad Brownell.
Yeah, he's distributing. Top 10 in the league in assists at over 4 per game. There's Galloway with the takeaway. Crowd wanted a whistle. Rebound 8 for Bacot. Well on his way to yet another double-double. Love to the corner. Pop Johnson all alone. Give him 3. Everybody getting into the act for the heels. PJ Hall back into the game, trying to impose his will. Rebound number 9 for Bacot. Love up ahead. Nance! Boy, that would have been pretty if he could have finished on the line.
Now, when you hear the name Nance, you would expect for there to be a finish on the line. Of course, his father, Larry Nance, who was a slam dunk champion and also a Clemson Tiger, as well as his older brother. Both those guys are big-time dunkers. I'm surprised Pete didn't put that one in the rim.
His dad, Larry, was a tremendous Clemson Tiger, as you mentioned. We've got a timeout here in Chapel Hill.
And Caleb Love making life easy for Puff Johnson in the corner. The dribble drive, the penetration, the kick, and the 3. All good. Let's give the crowd a lot of credit, because from the tip, they have been involved in this game even before when they got the swag surfing going the correct direction. This is oftentimes difficult to do. But they've been involved well before the tip, and knowing how big of a game this is that their team was presented with this afternoon.
And Caleb Love, as you saw, has been part of that offense, and when he gets cooking, this team really can put up points. North Carolina's excellent sports information director, Steve Kirshner, who's got an offensive foul, came over during that last time out, Corey, to point out the fact that with these 40 points that Carolina has scored, in addition to the 60 that they scored in the second half last time out in the loss to Wake Forest, they've scored 100 points in their last 2 halves. And R.J. Davis sticking his chin in there and taking another charge.
But that's a big foul in a number of different ways, because not only does that hurt R.J. Davis, that's the 3rd foul on P.J. Hall, who has been the majority of the offense for Clemson in this first half. And not only does that take him off the floor for the remaining 107, it makes him much more tentative in the second half.
R.J. Davis spent a lot of the offseason watching videotape of the former Georgia Tech star Jose Alvarado trying to become a better defender, and it has manifested this year. He still can distribute the assist to the slam by Bacot.
But Doug, when I tell you that this team is different, when R.J. Davis and Caleb Love are attacking the paint in comparison to settling for jump shots, and also it gears up their effort on the defensive end.
Galloway right to the basket for a second time here in the first half. That quiets the crowd for the moment. And a timeout is called. We'll take a break with them and be back to Chapel Hill in 30 seconds.
Getting into the Carolina blue area on the floor has been beneficial for the Heels. R.J. Davis to Bacot with a strong finish.
The Wells Fargo Active Cash Card. Earn 2%
18th ranked Tar Heel women square off against number 22 NC State at 8 Eastern on ACC Network. This will be the second game of a women's basketball doubleheader with Syracuse and Florida State. At 6 o'clock with Angel Gray, I'm Doug Sherman. Corey Alexander here. This has been a marvelous season so far here in the Triangle for all 3 women's basketball programs in the ACC.
I believe it's been a tremendous season for ACC women's basketball altogether. You're talking about clearly the best conference in the country on the women's basketball side. So many teams from top to bottom. I know at one point there were 6 ACC teams ranked. I believe that was before conference play when they started having to fight against each other, but still a lot of quality basketball being played on the women's side.
Shot clock at 25. Game clock was at 27. So the Tar Heels can essentially hold for a final shot. Love being hounded by Galloway some 45 feet from the basket. And now he backs off. Love uses the Bacot screen. Crosses over. Finds Puff Johnson from the corner. With 3 seconds left, can the Tigers get off a good shot? It's Hunter. But tell you what, up 9, North Carolina has looked everything but a bubble team, which they are coming in.
In this building, the Tar Heels are. Tyson is the leading defensive rebounder, averages close to 8.5 defensive rebounds per game in the ACC. He's third nationally on that standpoint. So when you think about the better rebounders in the game, Hunter Tyson along in that mix, but it's been all about Bacot here in the first half.
Let's go over to Angel, who moments ago talked to Hubert Davis.
Yes, Corey, you talked about how this team is different when Caleb and Armando are aggressive offensively. Caleb Love and Armando both in double figures. But when I talked to Coach, he said it's not just their energy on the offensive end. It's defensively what we're able to do, keeping Clemson in front of them, and most importantly, our energy and not putting them on the free throw line. Clemson only shot 2 free throws in that first half, guys.
And Angel, for you as a player, you know human nature is when things are going well for you offensively, you're locked in a little more defensively. Yet oftentimes when things aren't going well offensively, you're thinking about your offensive game as we see Caleb Love attacking the basket once again. And I believe that's a dimension of his game. When he's not settling for jump shots alone, but is attacking and trying to get to that rim, he becomes a different player.
Corey, I'll take it back to even not just offensively, but leading by example. As a leader, we mentioned how Armando said we have to be better, challenging everyone on the floor. If you don't want to do that, don't show up on Thursday. We're seeing a team that is completely different as far as what they're able to execute on both ends of the floor, led by their vets.
Caleb Love committed that foul, and that's absolutely true. And what Armando said needed to be said, and it certainly seems like his teammates have responded to it. They showed up on Thursday for practice, and you know, Coach Davis continues to be very optimistic about the whole thing. He said they've had good practices, and he has maintained they have had good practices even throughout some of their struggles this year.
And that only allows him to know that they're capable. The difference is putting it together in a game situation where you're only going to have 5 guys who get to play. The difference in practice is you've got 10 guys happy, because there are 10 guys on your team that are getting minutes. But when you're on the floor in a game, only 5 of your guys can play. And oftentimes, that's where the chemistry can get messed up. Some guys feel like they should be playing more than others, etc. But right now, the chemistry has looked great.
Well, there have only been, as Davis hits another 3, there have only been 5 games this year, Corey, where the Carolina reserves have outscored their opponents' reserves. But they got a little bit from several different players in that first half. Coach Davis went 5 deep off his bench. And he said in his press avail earlier this week, he doesn't need any one of them on any specific day to give him anything, but collectively, he needs something every game out of that group.
What he needs collectively from that group is defense. He needs for those guys that come off the bench to pick up the defensive energy level from where it was with the starters. And I think he got that from this group today.
Good defense by Nance, and he rips the ball away. Quickly into the corner. Black beats Bacot, who, by the way, has himself yet another double-double, the 16th of his season, and number 65 as a Tar Heel all time. Give him 2 more points. Good control as Hall went down. And remember, P.J. Hall's playing with 3 fouls.
And I love the officiating right there by Clarence Armstrong, just shaking his head, saying there's nothing there. Because if it had been something, it would have been the 4th foul on P.J. Hall.
Largest lead of the afternoon with timeout on the floor.
Pick and roll action to perfection. R.J. Davis, the pocket pass to Bacot, the spin, the finish, and Carolina rolling along. His numbers 3-3 versus quad ones this year, and that's the reason why they're still projected in the field. Both these teams right now as an 11th seed. That will change for someone here this afternoon.
And this would only be Carolina's 2nd quad-one win of the year. It's hard to believe they have played 9 quad-one games as Hall connects on the turnaround. And the only one they've won was against Ohio State, a Buckeyes team that is now under 500.
But when you consider the fact that, of course, Michigan coming in, you would think that would be a quad-one game, especially on a neutral floor. Lost to Alabama in the 4 overtime game at the PK 85 back in November, but North Carolina has a number of quad-one opportunities remaining at North Carolina State. February the 19th, that's going to be a Sunday game, I believe. And then, of course, Virginia here on their home floor, as well as Duke here on their home floor. So more opportunities for North Carolina, but they've got to take care of business in not only the quad ones, but quad 2, quad 3 as well.
Nance still scoreless off the missed 3. And Carolina was the #1 team in the country coming into the year, and since the NCAA field expanded to 64 teams back in 1985, not a single preseason #1 has missed the postseason tournament. And again, if the Heels continue to play like they have for the last hour and 20 minutes or so, that won't be an issue.
We asked Hubert Davis pregame, was he a play caller? Was he a guy that liked to slow his team down and call set plays? And he said, I will if we get scored on. You get scored on, your punishment is you got to run what I want you to run. And right there, they got scored on. They ran what he wanted them to run. And it ends up with the third three-point field goal for R.J. Davis.
R.J. Davis's right index finger has been injured a couple of times this year, including most recently in the game against Syracuse. But he has made 3 threes. Galloway, through the contact, earns a trip to the line. And I also like the classic Carolina look. When Love set up Davis for that 3, Davis, after making the shot, just like Dean Smith taught him to do back in the day, point to the man who made the pass to you. These two are very much connected and working in tandem today.
And because of all the outside noise, everything that's been going on regarding this program, you know, in social media, etc., that could be the thing that draws a team together. Everyone knows that, hey, what this team did a year ago with R.J. Davis and Caleb Love playing great basketball together. And this may be exactly what they needed to get them back on the same page.
Love rejects the screen, finds his partner in crime, but an offensive foul, no basket, as P.J. Hall with those 3 personals took the charge.
Yeah, dangerous play there by P.J. Hall, but it works out for him getting possession back. For North Carolina, of course, as it goes on the Jumbotron here, no one's going to like it. You see P.J. Hall turning his body. Not sure if that one should have gone against Caleb Love, but P.J. Hall fortunate not to have picked up his 4th on that possession.
If you're Clemson, how do you get Hunter Tyson going at this end?
Well, one of the areas that you can get Hunter Tyson going is to get one of the ACC's best defenders off of him in Leaky Black. But that's one of the things that Hubert Davis isn't going to allow to happen. Give Leaky Black a lot of credit. All ACC defensive team a year ago most likely will be back on that team this season. And one of the best perimeter defenders in the league.
And is it true that he's still growing? He's up to 6'9", so a perimeter defender who is 6'9" and that long, that willing to do the work.
You know what Armando Bacot would tell you if you said that? That's cap. Look it up. I'm not sure if you know what that means. I don't think he's 6'9".
17 points now for Caleb Love. The lead is 16. Galloway, he's into double figures. Give him 10 points. And it's back to a 14-point game. Okay, so if you've got Caleb Love defending you, or rather, excuse me, Leaky Black defending you, you can't just throw up your hands. What more can they do to get him open looks?
Well, you can try to run him off some screens. That would help. But to try to get Leaky Black off of him and force someone to help as Caleb Love lets one go. But that's the type of night it's been, forgive me, afternoon it's been for Caleb Love as he knocks down the 3-ball, falling out of bounds into his own team's bench.
He's got 20. We have seen these performances out of Caleb Love over the years. Checking with the cutting Hunter. Good defense again by UNC. Here comes Carolina. Davis with a basketball to a streaking Leaky Black. Against the ACC's #1 team in field goal percentage defense, the Tar Heels just keep putting points on the board. As Hall and Nance get untangled at the other end, a rare miss today by Caleb Love.
Yeah, that was a heat check by Caleb Love. He immediately pats his chest saying, my fault on that shot. But when we had a rule back in the day, when it feels good, do it. And it's been feeling good for Caleb Love so far. And right now, I don't mind that shot. I don't think Hubert Davis really will.
And Caleb Love, with an offensive foul call, is 5 of 7 now from beyond the arc.
North Carolina firing on all cylinders offensively in this game. Caleb Love falling out of bounds is greeted by his own teammates after knocking down the big three. And then classic North Carolina basketball fast break. Leaky Black finishing it off.
Back to Chapel Hill. Tar Heels feeling it right now on an 8-2 run. And we've had a fun slate of men's basketball games this Saturday. But let me take you on the other side to the women for the game of the year between the battle of the two undefeateds, LSU and the University of South Carolina. That game really features a little bit of everything. Legendary coaches, Kim Mulkey, Dawn Staley. And then you even had the reigning player of the year in Aaliyah Boston taking on Angel Reese. She's had a double-double in every single game this season. And Zaya Cook, she has been snatching ankles all season. So definitely a game that you don't want to miss tomorrow, guys.
Angel, you are correct. Arguably the biggest women's basketball game of the season so far. Miss Boston, undefeated #1 South Carolina. Angel Reese, undefeated #3 LSU. Coverage begins 2 Eastern, Super Bowl Sunday on ESPN and the app. And what the Bayou Barbie has done, both on and off the floor in Baton Rouge, has been nothing short of remarkable under Kim Mulkey. It is an epic clash tomorrow you won't want to miss.
And I believe that, of course, Aaliyah Boston, who last year's Player of the Year, will be spectacular. As R.J. Davis gets out and takes another charge, he has been putting his body on the line for the Tar Heels throughout this game. But I do believe that throughout that game, South Carolina will win.
I know who you're rooting for.
Because I think South Carolina will win. I think they, even though, of course, legendary coaches on both sides of the floor, I believe that South Carolina wins because it's on their home court and they have the best coach. However, I think Angel Reese is going to be the best player on the floor in that game.
Caleb Love having himself a big game, setting up Washington back into the game, and an over-the-back foul called against Leaky Black. Well, I love this picture. As you can see, the current Gamecocks head coach, Dawn Staley, she had a better handle then and now than you.
That's fact.
Absolutely.
That is absolute facts.
Absolutely.
I have asked her for some advice on her work. And, of course, you know, I asked our producer, Matt Bartley in the truck, to not only put that up there, but put the GOAT beside me and over to the right, of course, Michael Jordan. I mean, again, hey, props to LeBron James. I'm a fan for passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on the all-time scoring list. But there can only be one GOAT, and he went to college here.
So you have to explain what that picture was from, Corey.
That picture was from my guy Fred Whitfield's world's greatest pickup game. That was in the summer of 1997, 98, one of those. I played in it 5 straight years. But Michael Jordan would come to Fred Whitfield's camp, and we would play a pickup game. So, of course, in that photo there are, you know, probably 20 NBA players in the mix. So many different guys who would show up to play in the game each and every year. It was a staple of the summertime in Greensboro, North Carolina. Great tradition by Fred. Of course, is now the president of basketball operations for the Charlotte Hornets, alongside his good friend and the GOAT, Michael Jordan.
Indeed. Well, when you asked Dawn Staley for any tips about her handle, what did she tell you? Could she help?
She was coaching when she was playing. She was always helpful. As a player, she was always helpful. And again, one of the reasons why she is, in my opinion, the greatest point guard to ever have played the women's game. Not only because of what the success she had on the floor at the University of Virginia, but also with the U.S. Olympic team, and part of the reason why she's now coaching the U.S. Olympic team.
Offensive foul, R.J. Godfrey. Yeah, so again, LSU, South Carolina, huge game between undefeateds tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock, over on ESPN.
Winner with Jay Billis, and great little plie there by Jay. That's the Auburn-Alabama game. Auburn's up 4 against the #3 team in the nation. On the ACC Network Extra in the ESPN app, you can watch Virginia Tech and Notre Dame. Vandy, coming off their big win over Tennessee, is on the road against Florida. That is on SEC Network. And let's get some hockey in here. The best team in the league, the Boston Bruins, taking on Ovechkin and the Capitals on ABC. Puck drop 3:42. Back to CA and Dougie Fresh.
Dallin, thanks so much. And we are enjoying watching the Tar Heels on this end of the floor today. They have been led by their big three, R.J. Davis, showing that right index finger not giving him a problem today. And we go back over to Angel. because RJ's shown a little bit of that dog today, right, Angel?
Oh, absolutely. I was reading an article about RJ the other day and how his dad, Robert, taught him how to be a dog on the basketball court. Is funny, too, because he finds solace in also being a weasel. His mother gave him that nickname when he was a baby, and he said it kind of just stuck. He said, my mom still calls me Weasel to this day because they are ferocious animals, so he's okay with that. He said they might not look like they're aggressive, but they are deep down. I don't know about you guys, but I've counted almost 4 possessions where he's taken a charge. He's always stepping up. His dad said, my challenge to him this morning was to always be aggressive, always keep your foot on the gas, and we've definitely seen him today, guys.
And little did we know that his dad was, of course, listening in our production meeting this morning. We're all eating breakfast together. Didn't know that that was RJ's dad sitting over there, but he gave us a lot of insight and let us know that he was on his way to give RJ a pep talk before the game, and we got to give Dad a shout-out because the pep talk absolutely worked.
Yeah, Robert Davis was a Division II legend at Mercy College in Dobbs Ferry, New York, when he scored over 2,000 points. So at least on the offensive end, he knows what he's talking about when he tells his son, do this, don't do that.
Well, the apple didn't fall far from the tree because RJ can get a bucket, no question about it. McDonald's All-American out of Archbishop Stepinac in the city, in New York City.
Well, White Plains, north of New York City. Don't make that mistake. Don't say Stepinac's in the city, because people in the city will say, oh, no, it's not in the city.
Well, that's why I rely on you for geography.
Yes.
And you rely on me for everything else.
Wait a second. I drove you here today. So that's at least 2 things.
This is true.
You've relied on me.
This is true. I have.
No, from White Plains, New York. That's just north of New York City.
So it's not considered New York City?
Oh, no. No, no, no.
Okay.
No, no, no.
Well, you know, I'm from the South. I'm a Virginia guy.
And
so
you help me with the DMV type stuff. If
that's true.
Speak out of turn, putting something in the wrong context, you let me know.
And for the record, that's cat means it's a lie. So for those who are wondering what that's cat means, now you know that is not true.
It is. Josh Beadle back into the game. He had a short run off the bench in the first half for Clemson. A little deeper bench now for the Tigers. Ben Middlebrooks on the stick back. The sophomore from Fort Lauderdale has his first points of the day.
And Clemson now having seen its largest deficit of the season, trailing by 20 points at one point in this game, now cutting it to 15. And Brad Brownell just imploring his team, let's see if we can get this thing into single digits once again before the next time out. Make a run at it down the stretch, but no way Clemson's going to give up on this game this early.
Black with 3 to shoot. Back out to RJ Davis, rising up. Beadle, Shefflin, Chauncey Wiggins, an excellent shooter on the floor, but Clemson turns it over.
And just an unforced error by Beadle on that possession in a crucial time where you have to be shorthanded with the basketball. Really no pressure from North Carolina to come up with the turnover.
Here's Caleb Love sitting on 5 made threes, but we've got an illegal screen against Armando Bacot. By the way, those 5 made threes, he's 5 of 7. Caleb Love, that's as many as the entire Clemson team has so far today.
And this Clemson team comes in shooting 36% from beyond the three-point arc on the season. North Carolina really hovering right above 30%. But it's been a reversal of fortune in this game thus far.
Yeah, Carolina's shooting this year is worst in the ACC from beyond the arc and 329th in the nation. But when Caleb Love's shooting it like he does here today, it's a whole different story. Middlebrooks off the nice feed from Chauncey Wiggins. And now the crowd here in Chapel Hill picks it back up.
Down to 13 right now. And one of the things that you can't do with the big lead is relax, especially against a team that comes in at 10-3. In ACC play. You know Clemson is a good basketball team, and right now North Carolina cannot afford to relax and take their foot off the gas pedal, and you see just simple screen and roll action, no help, allowing the easy 2 to cut the game to 13.
Bacot, they go inside to him. That's been the story right from the start today, and the big man will have a chance for 3.
And it seems as though oftentimes North Carolina forgets they have possibly the best player in the ACC, especially in the post area, on their team. They'll go through stretches where you forget about Armando Bacot. He doesn't get the basketball in his hands, and you go through these lulls and these scoring droughts, etc. Smart play right there. Go back inside. Allow Bacot to touch the basketball. It's not always going to be for a shot, but something normally good is going to happen when he gets his hands on the ball.
Preseason ACC Player of the Year now with 17 points. Again, he has his 16th double-double of the year and counting with 9.5 minutes on the clock.
And, of course, you've seen a lot of ACC basketball, as has Angel Gray. Right now, who would you say is the ACC Player of the Year?
I know I'm in Chapel Hill, but I'm still going to say Tyree Appleby at Wake Forest. I think it's between Appleby and Bacot at this point. Angel?
I'm literally going to say Tyree Appleby as well. I mean, unbelievable performance. I've seen him in the passing days as well in the game. So I'm sorry, I'm going to have to tag along with you and put my vote in for Appleby.
I have no problem with Appleby being, you guys front runner for ACC Player of the Year. I think he has had an awesome year this season. But right now, you're talking about a team that really is not in the mix for the NCAA tournament. They're being considered at this point. And I believe that Armando Bacot and the North Carolina Tar Heels, when it's all said and done, will be in the tournament. And a lot of that has more so to do with what he does and the attention that he gathers just by being on the floor.
Yeah, at this moment, I agree that it could change. It's certainly not sewn up, but at this moment, Carolina very much on the bubble. As we talked about, they were an 11 seed coming in, and if they were to lose this game, they would fall out of the field just like Wake Forest. So a lot of basketball still to be played, but I'm still going with Appleby at this point. But Bacot is neck and neck, just behind him. Third foul on R.J. Davis sends Chase Hunter to the line. One of 3 Tigers in double figures so far today. Coming up in just about 15 minutes over on ESPN, we've got Corey's alma mater, number 8 Virginia, hosting the Duke Blue Devils. Another big game in the ACC here on a February Saturday afternoon. Fun time of year, and what do you see out of the Hoos and the Blue Devils today, Corey?
I had the Hoos against NC State on Tuesday, and no one coming into that game was hotter than Kevin Keats, North Carolina State Wolfpack. And Virginia put on an absolute defensive clinic in that game. And if Virginia plays defense that way, they will be back in the mix. As Buck Johnson's able to knock down another 3-ball off the 5 from Leaky Black. And a much-needed basket as the crowd was starting to get a little restless here with Clemson making a short comeback.
Clemson has not trailed very often this year to this degree. 18-6 overall. Let's see how they respond. Davis, Black, Johnson, Love and Bacot on the floor. All trying to battle inside to keep the ball out of the hands of Bacot, who gets it. On the double team. Skip pass to Love. Penetrates. Hangs off the window. No. There to clean it up. Puff. Johnson. The junior out of Moon Township, Pennsylvania, has 8 points off that Carolina bench. Timeout on the floor, called by Clemson.
Puff Johnson making his presence felt the last 2 possessions. Leaky Black, the penetration. Puff Johnson stepping up, knocking down to 3. And then, of course, in typical North Carolina fashion, second chance points on the offensive glass. Need to see Walter Davis, uncle of Hubert, another North Carolina legend. The main reason why Hubert Davis is not only the coach here at the University of North Carolina, but also attended the University of North Carolina as a player, following in the footsteps of his uncle. And Angel, Hubert talked to us a bit about his father and him being his biggest hero earlier today. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, absolutely, especially since we continue to acknowledge and celebrate Black History Month. He said that is the figure that continues to inspire him. He said he shared the story of his father to his team before practice. He said, with all the noise going around, you have to think about what's most important. He said his mother died when he was 16 from cancer, so his father was left to take care of him and his sister. At every turn, he was always there, always had a hot meal on the table. He was at every home game when he was with the Knicks. He said, for those type of moments, we have to show up. You have a choice. You can either fold or you can show up. And this is a team that I think has definitely responded because of that story, guys.
Absolutely, and we've mentioned outside noise often throughout this game, and Hubert made it very clear. What my father dealt with was real noise. That's not the play. That's the real noise right there. What they've dealt with is nothing that as a team they could not overcome. P.J. Hall down the backcourt, North Carolina with numbers, and R.J. Davis going to take advantage of it any chance he gets. You get numbers like that, that is a wide open opportunity to knock down a big three.
And again, a team in the ACC shooting only 31% from three has looked anything but like that team here today. Hall rips the rebound away and lays it in. This has been Clemson's biggest deficit of the season. Hall playing well with his 18 points.
Yeah, P.J. Hall has given Brad Brownell everything that he can in this game. The problem is he's been saddled with foul trouble, especially here in this second half. Does a great job defending without fouling on that possession. But he's really been the only spark for Clemson throughout this game. Hunter Tyson just has not been able to get it going. Give Leaky Black a lot of credit for that. As we see P.J. Hall trying to save the basketball, going down the backcourt, and R.J. Davis recognizing North Carolina has numbers, knocks down a big three.
Davis now with 17 points. Love leads all scorers with 23. And oh, by the way, Corey, during his career, the Tar Heels are 19-3 when he goes for 20 or more. Air ball by Davis. Galloway lost his footing. Here come the Tar Heels. Love gives it back, and Bacot throws it down. That's 19 points for the senior from Richmond. And another timeout.
There's nothing finer than the fast break in Carolina. Getting out on the break, Caleb Love finding Armando Bacot, sharing the basketball. And right now, North Carolina with 80 points, looking unstoppable here in the Dean E. Smith Center.
So again, we began the show by showing you the words of Armando Bacot earlier in the week after their disappointing third loss in a row. Tuesday at Wake Forest, lost to the Demon Deacons 92-85. It wasn't nearly that close. They were down 26 points, made a nice push. But he called out his teammates, a group of guys who came together last year to make it all the way to the Final Four of the national title game. And if early indications are anything, Corey, his message has gotten through.
It absolutely has gotten through, and it wasn't just the message that got through to R.J. Davis and Caleb Love. The message went throughout the entire team. When you look at Leaky Black, Puff Johnson, R.J., I mean, everyone getting involved. Outside of Caleb Love and Armando Bacot, guys have scored 55 points. So again, this has been infectious through the entire team. It wasn't about two guys, it was about the entire team. And Armando Bacot has made it very clear he loves the University of North Carolina. This young man had an opportunity to put his name in the draft a year ago as, you know, runner-up for ACC Player of the Year. Could be playing in the NBA or G League right now. Decided to come back because he wanted to win a national championship in this place. And therefore, right now, in order to even get that opportunity, North Carolina has to be a better basketball team to make it to the NCAA tournament to even have a chance to dance.
But when they play with the energy and the enthusiasm and the cohesion that we have seen today, I'd have to say the sky's the limit.
I agree, and I think a lot of it has to do with the way they've approached the game defensively. When you look back at the game against Wake Forest, Wake scored 47 first-half points against North Carolina, shooting 51% for the game in that one. Clemson coming into this game nowhere near that type of success. A lot of it has to do with being on the home floor, but that's something that North Carolina can do on the road as well.
And after being shut down in that first half against Wake, scoring only 25, it has been all offense for the Heels, and the starters get a standing ovation with the bench being empty. 23 for Love, 19 for Bacot, another double-double. Davis with 17. Job well done for the Heels.
But when you look at the reserves coming into the game, these guys have been in the game previously. This is not their first, outside of Tyler Nickel, this is not their introduction to this game. Hubert Davis is going to be looking to this group to continue with the same defensive effort and share the basketball as well. Again, you know, when you find yourself 24 points up before 22 remaining, you don't look at this as an opportunity to relax. He's now coaching up this group because he's going to need some of these guys as this season moves along, and we get an opportunity to see just what Armando Bacot, Caleb Love, and R.J. Davis did today, combining for 59 points, shooting a great percentage, very efficient, more so than the entire Clemson Tiger team.
And Brad Brownell has his entire starting unit off the floor as well. Chase Hunter, Brevin Galloway, P.J. Hall in double figures. But again, one of the big storylines coming out of this one is that Hunter Tyson was shut down, averaging over 16 points per game. He had a three-pointer early, and that was it on the offensive end.
And Chauncey Wiggins coming off, knocking down a three, and that's what he can do. I believe he will be very good for Brad Brownell moving into the future. More of a stretch for a guy that can really space the floor on the offensive end.
Here's Jalen Washington. Defended by Godfrey. Turns to the baseline and left it short. Middlebrooks with a head of steam. It's Styles in the air, and then the foul comes. That will send the 6'10" sophomore to the line. Carolina up by 20, making a statement this afternoon in the ACC. Is on its way to a third consecutive loss. And Corey, they came into the day in a three-way tie for first place in the ACC, but Pittsburgh won at noon in Tallahassee, 83-75. So the Panthers have moved ahead, and coming up over on ESPN in just a few minutes, it'll be Virginia and Duke. The Cavaliers were the third team in that tie. If you're Clemson, where do you go from here, and what do you see from the Tigers as things have gotten a little sideways here in February?
Well, you continue to try to build on your basics, and you know, Clemson is about defense. They're a defense-first program. They've had great offensive output throughout this year, especially from Hunter Tyson, unable to get it. But I'm not sure they'll play against another team that has an individual defender capable of taking Hunter Tyson out of the game the way Leaky Black did in this game. So, but the problem for Clemson, when you look at their quad one opportunities remaining, they're both on the road at NC State, which, you know, will be a rematch from a game where Clemson beat the Wolfpack on December 30th, starting really what has become the role that NC State's been on, winning 9 of their last 11 games. But then you go to Virginia at the end of the month, and again, the only time the Tigers will see the Wahoos this season.
Tyler Nickel had to force it up with the shot clock down. Dontrez Styles misses the putback. And again, Joe Lunardi said coming into the day for this big matchup, if Clemson loses, it would then no longer be the automatic qualifier as it stands. They would still be, if everything goes according to what Joey Brackets thinks, they'd still be in the field of 68 for the moment, but Brad Brownell's club would drop down into the last four in segment.
Well, yeah, and I can see that being the case, but, you know, when you think about Clemson getting off to a 10-1 start in the ACC, and you look at it, I mean, Clemson's beaten Pittsburgh. You know, they've beaten NC State. They've beaten they've beaten Duke. They've beaten a number of the high-level teams already in ACC action. They still, of course, have Virginia. They've got the return game with NC State. But if you're Brad Brownell and your team gets to 14 ACC wins, I cannot imagine how you could possibly be left out of the tournament at 14-6. And so, you know, most likely they're not going to win this game. They leave here 10-4, 6 games remaining in ACC play. They split those 3 games. I strongly believe Clemson has to be an NCAA tournament team.
Yeah, their 2 losses in the non-conference are really going to hurt them come Selection Sunday at South Carolina and then to Loyola Chicago. Other than that, like you say, they've got a really good resume.
But and this goes back to, me getting on my soapbox. Games in January, February, March are more important than games in November and December. I think too often leagues, teams are judged by what happened in November and December when you're trying to integrate so many new pieces into the puzzle in comparison to games that happen late in the season in conference play where teams know your tendencies, etc., and you're still able to be successful. You get 14 wins in the ACC, that should be a no-brainer.
And you're not saying disregard altogether. You're just saying teams grow, teams evolve, teams change.
Right, because at the end of the day, when you count the losses, you also have to count the wins that Clemson has in the non-conference. As Seth Trimble steps up and knocks down a 3. Not his strong suit. Great to see him improving from beyond the three-point arc.
Justin McCoy, just his second made 3 on the season.
Oh, thank you for correcting me. I thought it Seth Trimble said shot that.
I believe it was number 22 and white.
It could be. I was talking.
Yeah, but
I wasn't paying attention at that point.
They are showing the foul call against Tyler Nickel, which is not a popular call. I thought it should have been on the free throw line, RJ Godfrey. Instead, it's the second personal on Nickel. P.J. Hall, one of the leaders for the Tigers, trying to make sure his team closes out this game the right way. There are Pringles on the line here at the Dean Dome. No Pringles to be had at the moment.
Now, I would never root against R.J. Godfrey, but I am a fan of Pringles.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've had Pringles.
No, that's your fault.
I'm not saying it's not, but it's been a long time. Done. Boy, everybody's making threes today for the North Carolina Tar Heels.
I believe being home in the Smith Center was a sight for sore eyes for North Carolina. This was a way for them to get back on track, get a complete reset. Of course, after Armando Bacot's comments after the Wake Forest loss, I'm sure there was a different level of attention paid to every detail that Hubert Davis wanted his team to be involved with in practice throughout this week. And it is shown here throughout this game.
And it won't get any easier for the Tar Heels. Quick turnaround for their big game Monday night here against the Miami Hurricanes. Nickel. That would have set a new season high for threes in a game. At 15, they have matched their season high. Boy, Wiggins does have a nice stroke.
And for the record, you were correct. That was Justin McCoy. So all the great things I said about Seth Trimble, I guess, do I have to take those back, or I can just leave it out there?
Well, I just want to go back to you saying I was correct. I didn't need your validation because I knew I was correct. I wasn't talking. I was watching.
Okay. That's because you weren't listening to me. You should have been involved in the conversation.
That is true. Mr. McCoy with 5 points off the bench. And even though this is, quote, garbage time, when they came in at the 4.5-minute mark, Corey, you said they've got to continue the type of intensity that the starters brought the game with.
They really do, because Hubert Davis is going to have to rely on a number of these guys. You can think back to the Virginia game where Justin McCoy started the second half against his former team, Virginia, as now Blue Steel will enter the game. A number of the walk-ons, guys who put in the sweat, the effort, the energy in practice, rarely get an opportunity to see game action.
Jackson Watson, or Watkins rather, Creighton Lebo, Bo May. Is Dewey Ferris out there as well? Got to make sure we call all their names. Yeah, there's Dewey, number 34 with the headband. And Rob Landry. Although with the shot clock off, chances are they're not going to get a shot up.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to get any looks at it, but regardless, you get to pull off the warm-up, you get on the floor, you get some game action. That's what it's all about.
good for Matt Kelly, the sophomore from Charleston, getting his name into the box score. Crowd wants the walk-on to get a shot up. Can't do it, but an impressive performance this afternoon for the Heat.
Absolutely was. North Carolina defensively was special here this afternoon.
They snapped the 3-game losing streak with a 91-71 win. For Corey Alexander and Angel Gray, I'm Doug Sherman saying so long from Chapel Hill. Now let's send it to Mark Neely and Fran Fraschilla.
Did you know one of Nissan's EVs survived the North Pole?